On today's show, Barb and I are going to make a beef stew. This is simple, quick to put together, and then you just cook it on the stove for an hour and a half. It's going to be delicious, so let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Diabetic Diet Show. The first thing we need to do is to cook up our beef, and then let's go through the ingredients. So here's the stove. We'll get this going. It's going on high. Yep, Barb's going to do a little oil. She's going to get the beef going. Now, ingredients. You want to use about 3 carrots. I'm using the ground up carrots today. A whole onion, and I'm doing the sweet onion, sometimes called Vandalia. Potatoes, we like these little potatoes. We have them all washed up and ready to go. Celery, you need 3 or 4 chunks of celery. We've already trimmed them and washed them. Worcestershire sauce, as Bugs Bunny would say. Some peas, tomato sauce, and I like, for tomato sauce, this Hunt's tomato sauce that has basil, garlic, and oregano in it. It's the same thing I use for making pizzas. You're supposed to use sugar, so I'm going to use our trivia for diabetics. I'm going to use 1/4 of a teaspoon. If you use regular sugar, you're going to want to use 1/2. And then we need some Italian seasoning. So I'm going to be using my Carrabba's Italian seasoning. And I've already measured that out. That was about 2.5 tablespoons. Now, you don't have to write these measurements down now, because I'll have them all in the show notes. If you just hit that subscribe button down there, and then you'll see the more button. And of course, while I'm thinking of it, subscribe, please. Hit that, or go to our website, which is jamestvds.blogspot.com. We're going to use mushrooms, and I'm basically going to use the whole package. If you have the whole mushrooms, you want to cut them up. We bought some sliced white mushrooms. Now, shiitake are my favorite. And my second favorite is, I can't remember, what's the name of that other one we got, Barb? Do you remember? I don't remember. There's,
it's like a brown mushroom.
Yeah, the brown mushrooms are better. And of course, you know, the mushrooms, the reason I don't have it handy is because I already took them out of the container and put them in a brown bag, just a lunch bag, and throw them in the refrigerator to last longer. We're going to use about 1 cup of red wine. I just bought Yellowtail, and this particular one is a Merlot, which is a red, and it will have some sweetness to it, as opposed to using a Cabernet Sauvignon. So now we have to just throw some salt in the meat, and we don't like to use a lot of salt. You can always add more later on. I need to cut up a few things. That's getting quiet, and as soon as they're browned, we have to get them in this pan. And you don't want to cook them, you just want to brown them. So as soon as there's no more pink, then it's time to get them in the pan. Here's my carrots. You want to use 3 or 4 carrots. I'm just going to use about a handful. And I'm just going to drop them in the bottom of my onion container. So when I do the onions, my carrots will be ready to go. So for the onion, I don't want to cut the root like you see a lot of people cutting. I want to cut the root off and cut off the top. Then I want to cut this, because this is a pretty large onion, up into several pieces, because I'm going to drop it into my chopper here. So let me get the jacket off these. And when you have this much onion, it's nice, you don't have to worry about losing some as you pull the jacket off the outside of it. Just like this. Put my onion in here, if it'll fit in there, huh? And I'm just using one big onion. Sometimes an onion is too big. There we go, look at that. Yes, very carefully pour it in there, all of it. Just like that. Next thing we want to do is deglaze the pan. Just like that. That's the way. Half a cup of water. Put that back on, please. And then go ahead and put your oil in. And we were talking off camera, we always turn our pan handle around. Thank you to my mom for that. She's the one that taught me that. Now I have my onions, my carrots, the celery. I'm going to try to use this onion chopper for the celery. Let's see how well it works. It works, not real well. It looks like it's not really made for it. Celery is hard. We did the salad shooter video the other day, and we had trouble with the salad shooter. You just have to do one. So if you have one of these, just do one. Look at that, a lot easier. There you go, that's the trick. I'll take that. The other thing I think we ought to do at this point, you can put your lid back on when you're ready, but I think what we ought to do is we ought to turn this down. I like to cook on medium, medium low. Next, we take our garlic and you put it in just like this and you squeeze it. And I'm not so worried about pressing it through the center because I'm pretty good with mashed garlic falling out like that. One thing about garlic, the smaller it is, the more it is apt to burn. That's why this press works well like this. And sometimes people will take like a knife or something and just clean this up a little bit. So you can have this and clean that up a little bit, and I'll get started. Here, hold it up in the air. I got a scraper. See this? Look at that, just like that. Okay. Then we need to do some potatoes, Barb. So let's get going on our potatoes. I have my pick here. When I was young, I used to have real curly hair, and I used to wear it really long. But that was before the fire department. Anybody that has long hair or a mustache, you go into your first fire and you come out and you decide you want to have short hair and no mustache. Just like that. I'll hold the lid for you, make your life easy. Next is your butter to do your mushrooms. After we melt that, we'll saute up the mushrooms for a short time. And if you want, after that butter is melted, if you want to squirt just a little bit of oil, what happens is butter will burn faster than oil will. So if you put a little oil with your butter won't burn. Because there's nothing worse than the taste of burnt butter. Mushrooms are done. I'll take them for you since I'm over here. Flour. You could put the flour in while it was in the pan if you want, or you could just do it that way. I'll take one of your spoons or something to stir this with. And then we're going to put this on the burner and put some more ingredients in it. Okay, I'll get this out of your way. Okay, this is on the burner. This is on, and that's on medium. I'll just check it. Okay. Looks good, huh? Mm-hmm. All right, so you ready for some things?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Red wine. Some salt. Paprika. Smoked paprika. This is my Carrabba's Italian seasoning mix that I reverse engineered. If you want to get my recipe for my Italian seasoning, I'll put a link in the show notes. If you'll just hit the subscribe button and then hit the more button, you'll see that. By the way, while I'm thinking of it, please click on the subscribe button. We have a lot of good cooking recipes. And if you want to know when we drop a new recipe, hit the bell. And by the way, question of the day is, do you like Italian seasoning? If you like Italian seasoning, hit the thumbs up button right now. Next thing you need, Barb, is some spaghetti sauce, pasta sauce. There you go. That is looking really delicious. Now we need some Worcestershire sauce. You're going to need a few tablespoons of that. Probably don't have to measure that. Now the sugar, I want to be careful with this because it is strong. So you don't want to get crazy with that. Barb and I don't use a lot of sugar on anything. We've tried and stuff is too sweet for us. And you give that a good stir, Barb, and then we can put our potatoes in. I'll put the potatoes in on the top. Then you need 4 cups or 1 32 ounce of beef broth, beef stock. Of course, depending on the size of your pan. Fit in there or not, we'll see. Just like that. Now give it a careful stir so that don't slip off that burner. And then we're going to put the lid on it and we're going to bring it to a boil. And after it comes to a boil, then we're going to turn it down to a simmer and let it simmer. It is almost time for the timer for an hour and a half. I've had that on a low simmer. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to having beef stew. Very simple recipe. There's a lot of ingredients, but very simple. And then we'll just throw some basil on top. Mmm, the basil smells good. That's the show for the day. As a matter of fact, if you'd like to see a couple more shows just like this, here's 2 more.